I'm gonna say it again. No one is responsible for how you feel. And let me backtrack a little bit. When you were a child, most children don't have the resources that they need. They don't even have the mind capacity, the brain capacity to even understand what's happening. Remember, we talked about the subconscious mind just being open, right? And everything's just flowing in there. It's almost part of your responsibility as an adult to heal that, because your childness couldn't. There's toxic money beliefs running through the whole system. My name's Amity Rose from amityrose.co. I am a women's empowerment coach and certified hypnotherapist. The whole channel is devoted to empowering women to remember their worth, their value, and their power. You guys are in for such a treat because I am about to teach you how to start inner child healing work. If you're not familiar with this, then let me just give you a brief overview. It represents the child that you once were. And this is really crucial because if you remember, from 0 to about 8, your subconscious is completely open and you're just taking in information and as if it's true. You don't have an analytical mind yet to discern what's truth and what's not true. So especially between 0 and 8, those are really impactful years, and they downloaded everything into the subconscious. So the inner child is just, as an adult, recognizing that there is still a part of you that is very youthful, that's represented by this inner being. So you may look and be adultish, but there is still a fraction of your personality, of your being, that is very youthful and innocent and young. And it's very important to recognize this part of you because things that happened in childhood are absolutely 100% affecting you in adulthood, especially if you don't heal it. So I'm so glad that you're watching this video. If you're experienced with inner child healing work, this will still be really important for you because there's some really key concepts here. And if you're new, this is a great place to start because I'm gonna give you everything that you need so that you can begin the healing work. And you'll see how it's all connected. It's really quite fascinating. So the first thing that you've got to do, which many people do, is you have to stop blaming. And this means blaming your parents, blaming the environment you were raised in, blaming the city that you're from, blaming the school, blaming your relationships, etc. And here's why. You're not going to be able to be in a place of personal power at the same time placing blame on another person. Because what happens when you place that blame is you actually transfer your personal power to them or the situation, the circumstances. So you're powerless the moment you blame another person. So you literally have no options, you have no choice. You have given all of your personal power away, blaming the other person for how you feel. This will keep you in victim mentality and victim mode where you just can't do anything, especially heal. So the blaming, the removing the blame, and it's not saying that anything that happened is okay or not okay. We're doing it so that we can return the personal power to ourselves so that we have options. We now have choice because our power has returned. So absolutely no blaming as you start this inner child healing work. There is nobody to blame. I do want to make a note. If you're in a human suit, you've had trauma. You've had challenging life experiences. You cannot escape this life, no matter how perfect your life may have looked. You cannot escape this human life without experiencing trauma on some form. Now there's levels and there's more horrific things than others, and I get that, and that's not in the context of this video. But just acknowledging all humans experience trauma, we all do. But when we're blaming, you literally have no power, no resources to heal yourself. So it's really important that you take the blame off of whatever you're blaming simply so that you can stay in a place of power. This is gonna lead me to the next step, which is get yourself resourced. Get the resources that you need to heal. So depending on the severity of the trauma, I personally offer transformation coaching and hypnotherapy. I have inner child healing sessions where we can go in and do the work and work with the subconscious. However, you may need a licensed psychotherapist or you may need something radically different. The resources exist and it's really important. The tools, the skills, the wisdom, people have that. So if you don't have that, get yourself partnered with somebody who can help you navigate the healing of your childhood. And this is so important because, and I'm gonna share an example so you actually see how it impacts the adult version and how we heal it. So stay to the end if you want to actually see the work that we do from something that happened in childhood, how it's expressing as adult, and how we heal it right now. But as far as tip number 2 is get yourself the resources, okay? Simple Google search will find. You can go on Instagram, you can go on YouTube. I mean, the resources are there. So once you stop blaming anybody and everything, and you have your personal power back, you go get yourself some resources. And you'll know, trust your intuition and trust source that you will be guided and led to the exact resources that you need. Trust and know that you'll find exactly what you need to heal whatever it is that you need to heal. The third one, which is probably my favorite, is forgiveness is required. If you're gonna do any type of inner child healing work, and this is kind of connected to number 1 when we blame other people. We blame usually because we've suffered in some way or we've hurt, so we blame them for our hurt, for our pain. Now, here is where forgiveness comes in. I am not minimizing anything that's happened to you, and I want to be very clear that forgiveness is not for them. Look into my eyes. The forgiveness is for you, is to set you free. It has nothing to do with the person, place, circumstances that you're blaming, okay? Nothing. The forgiveness 100% of the time is for you, to set you free. So this comes in partnership when we stop blaming and we have our personal power. When we forgive, whoo, your power is times 1,000. And then the healing can start to happen. So forgiveness is gonna be required if you're going to start the inner child healing work. You've got to forgive. And I've got a fantastic video on how, if you're new or what that looks like or all that, you can get this resource here. See what I'm talking about? The resources, they're everywhere. The resources that you need are out there, find them. But you can check this video out if you need help navigating forgiveness. Very, very helpful, but it's gonna be required. That's the healing part. 99% of your healing work and healing this inner child is forgiving. Forgiving what happened, forgiving the people involved, forgiving that it wasn't different. I mean, you name it. Your forgiveness is a huge, huge part of inner child healing. But what that does, the beauty of it, when you heal that place within you, that hurt from being a child, you heal in this moment and you're different. Because a lot of adults are walking around as wounded children, and I've got another fantastic video, you guys, on adulting. Watch it, it's so good. Most people are just walking around immature children. They're in adult bodies. They look like an adult, but they're not. On an emotional level, they are still very much children. And it comes down to not healing the inner child. I'm sure you have them in your own life. I'm sure you've interacted with somebody that's very childlike. And not on all levels. You'll meet adults that are very mature here, here, and here, but on these 3 levels, I mean, you're talking to an 8-year-old. We all are like that because we're complex beings. So this work is really important if you wanna be a mature adult. Really, the 4th one you guys have to know about starting inner child healing is, and hear me, no one is responsible for how you feel. I'm gonna say it again. No one is responsible for how you feel. And let me backtrack a little bit. When you were a child, most children don't have the resources that they need. They don't even have the mind capacity, the brain capacity to even understand what's happening. Remember, we talked about the subconscious mind just being open, right? And everything's just flowing in there. It's almost part of your responsibility as an adult to heal that, because your childness couldn't. It didn't have the resources, it didn't know how. If you talk to a 5-year-old that went through something traumatic, they're not resourced to handle that. So it is your job as a now adult to go back and heal that for the 5-year-old you that couldn't. And I have a fantastic video on how you can change your own memories. I do want to note though, this is an advanced skill. So if this world is new to you, the changing your memories thing is not for a beginner. It's for advanced practitioners that have been in this realm for a while. we can actually rearrange and change things in the imagination, change the memories and all that. So check that out if you're advanced. If not, just go ahead and pass it. But it's your job as an adult now to heal the parts of you that didn't know how to process or heal back then. You think about something happened to a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old. I mean, you name it. Like, they don't have the mental capacity. You didn't have the mental capacity or the emotional intelligence to handle some of this trauma, but it happened, and it's your responsibility to heal it. There's no other way about it. So you get yourself resourced, you stop placing blame on any person or place or thing, you practice forgiveness, and you take 100% responsibility for yourself as an adult, and responsibility for healing your past, for healing your childhood, because that is your responsibility. What happened in childhood is not. So we're not placing blame, but we're recognizing it. You weren't responsible for things that happened in childhood. You are responsible now to do the healing work of the child that lives within you, especially the traumatic child. And this brings me, you guys, to tip 5, and you're really gonna enjoy this. So I'm gonna walk you through. So let's say that there is, in childhood, there was no I love yous, no affection, and even shame. You caused all the problems in this family. I would be happier if you weren't here. Like, really just, some awful emotional stuff. So let's say that you have that from childhood, among other things. But for example, that's what we're working with here. If you don't do anything with that, because a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old doesn't know how to analytically think, well, oh, my mom's drunk and she's saying these mean things to me, or this is their own childhood stuff that they're projecting onto me, or the children don't have the mind capacity to do that. Okay, so they just don't. So that lives within. I'm not good enough. I'm a problem. I shouldn't even be alive. No love, no affection. That stays as she grows, okay? And that's gonna affect every single one of her relationships. That's gonna affect how she sees the world. Because if you're not being affectionate, told I love you, that embrace, that think about how important that is to the growth of a human, and you're being shamed for just existing, you can bet your ass that's gonna cause problems in your daily life and in your relationship. So if that goes unhealed, you're looking at a woman who probably has some dysfunctional relationships, who probably has some really low self-worth, and that's how it manifests in adult form when you have these unhealed parts of the inner child. So here's where the really cool part comes in. And this comes back to number 5, which being responsible for your own child healing. You have to learn to give yourself what it is you missed in childhood. So using this example from one of my clients is, she was never told I love you, never given affection. So just those 2 things alone. She now knows she's responsible. As much as you want to blame parents or the household or the dynamics, she is now responsible for loving herself. You see? So her work would be mirror work. In the eyes every day, every moment of every day, I love you. I love you so much. You're worthy of loving. I love you so much. It's okay that you weren't loved as a child. I love you now. I'm here now. I see you and I love you. That's the work on the I love you, the affection. So we're gonna work on being affectionate with the self. So she may not dress well. She may not take care of herself well. She may not eat well, right? She may not care for her being because she has the shame. This can manifest in 100 million different ways, but it's manifesting. That's what I need you to understand. Any kind of unhealed parts you have from childhood is manifesting in your adulthood. And I'm pretty sure you know those parts. And if you got a little bit of awareness, you can work them back to oh, well, that's where it came from. So when you heal those parts, you heal today. That's the magic, that's the beauty. Because we collapse time. when you go back and heal that 5-year-old. So if she's doing the I love yous and she's hugging herself and she's caressing herself and maybe even self-massage or bath or self-care, that 5-year-old that didn't get that affection is being loved in that moment, and she's healing, and the adult woman is healing, and it crosses all time, space, and dimension, you guys. It's amazing. So the other piece was being shamed for her existence. Ouch. That absolutely will affect you. You feel shameful for just even being alive. No kid can understand that. The mental capacity doesn't exist to understand that. So here is what we do there. Here's how we heal that. She's got to do the inner work, taking responsibility for her own self. She's got to do the inner work to heal that shame. So we're gonna do a lot of shame work. Where does the shame come from? Where does she feel most shame? And then we gotta boost it up with self-confidence and self-worth. If you guys struggle with that in any shape or form, I've got a fantastic video on how to really boost your confidence or be a confident woman. So we would do a lot of work on self-worth and self-confidence, and we can do this in hypnosis, and we can do this many, many different ways. But as she increases her self-worth and self-confidence, it will quiet down that shameful voice from childhood, which wasn't even true. And now that she's an adult, she's got the understanding that what happened to her, the things that were said to her, were from other wounded adults. The childhood her didn't understand that, but she can understand that. So we can do some work around the understanding of where the adults in her life were coming from. You match that with the forgiveness. You match that with the not blaming. You match that with taking your personal power back and radical responsibility for existence. And that is a recipe for healing, you guys. I warned you that I came with a doozy today, okay? So I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot, but it will be a great investment. There is nothing more important than investing in yourself. Nothing. You are your best investment, and your healing, your forgiveness, your letting go, your inner child healing, all of that. Best investment you can make. And you'll notice changes right away. All my clients do. When we do the inner child healing work, the changes now in this now moment are instantaneous because it collapses the time. Remember, I told you she heals, you heal. Like, it's all we have is this present moment. So the healing is just across all space and time. Again, if you're advanced, do check out the Changing Your Memories video. I've got some awesome techniques there that can really talk about quantum healing. But those are my 5 information for you. If you're new to the inner child healing work, this is a great place to start. And there's many more resources, but this is my way of doing things. This is the way I do things with clients. So if you're interested in becoming a client, you can hit me at the website. You can check me out on Instagram, TikTok. The podcast is live everywhere, guys. Getting this information out to the masses is so important, especially on my women. Women. You wake up, you heal, and we change the world. That's the game plan. All right, my loves. I will see you next week.